Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!
G'day, how the bloody hell are you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with Crank.com and with that metalstation.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's with great pleasure. But I'm getting to have a chat with the whole of Jaded Truth tonight, who recently released their third album, Take a Seat, on November 25th. G'day, guys. How you going?
How's it going?
Hey, man. It's going, man.
Good. Just quickly go through and intro yourselves for the audio as well, because I'll drop the audio of this over for the people listening on there. Just intro yourself and the instrument you're playing.
Hey, I'm Kyle. I do lead vocals and guitar.
My name is Michael. I do drums.
And my name's Aaron. I play bass.
Nice. Cool. First off, guys, who wants to grab this one? How would you describe your sound and style for Jaded Truth?
It's a little mixture of everything, you know. We're really into punk and metal, and a lot of our influences come from 90s, say, alternative bands, the grunge era. And I think with this album, we really focused on a lot more of like the punk and metal side, kind of straightforward. And yeah, we just wanted to make a real heavy album. You know, we've been playing some heavy stuff over the past few years, and that's where a lot of our influence come from.
Yeah, well, can we go through there individually and maybe tell us a little bit of who your individual influences are? Because I'm sure they're varied and vast considering the sound of the albums.
For sure.
For sure. I guess we'll start with me.
Yeah.
I'll start with Kyle.
I like almost every genre of music, honestly. I'm a big hip hop head, and I'm really into metal. I'm really into new wave. So like I love I don't know, Devo, B-52s. I don't know. Like I'm a huge Eminem fan, obviously. Took a real big impact on my lyrics. And yeah, obviously alternative and like grunge stuff is like my main thing. You?
Yeah, well, growing up, I mean, Eminem was a big one for me, getting into music in general. And I mean, growing up, say around early 2000s, like the whole new metal thing was a big influence on me. Bands like System of a Down, Korn. And as I grew up, I got into like, you know, Black Sabbath, Ramones, another one, lots of punk stuff. And yeah, just a whole smattering of rock and metal.
Me, I'm into a lot of old prog. I like a lot of Rush and things like that. AC/DC,
Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa, Black Sabbath, yeah, all that old school stuff. And I'm really into country too, actually, which is kind of funny.
No, it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
that
A
works,
lot of
man.
diversity in our influences for sure.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't have picked the old Eminem for the hip hop side of things. I think I was a little bit earlier. I was more into the old school hip hop. Like I'm a mad metalhead. I love my punk and rock, but like some of that old Public Enemy, Onyx with that back
Definitely,
the fuck up and shit like that when I was in high school.
Yeah,
man,
man,
that was
Exactly,
like, what the
definitely,
fuck is this, man? But that was cool.
Gotta have that
bloody hell.
attitude in there too, man.
Yeah, it did that old 90s attitude as well. So how did Jaded Truth first begin, guys?
I think it was around 2019, and we all kind of knew each other from the local scene, playing in different bands. So the guys were in a band previously, and I was in a band as well that, you know, we kind of parted ways. So when I knew these guys were looking for a drummer, I knew they were into like the alternative kind of grunge stuff. So that's pretty much how we hooked up. Like we all knew each other from the music scene here in St. John's.
Yeah, a bit of a weird time, 2019. It definitely would have been like, yeah, let's get this band together, guys. And then the fucking whole world's like...
and then everything shut down. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
what
it
was it
worked for
like
us
for you?
because-
Yeah, you go.
It forced us to really go hard on recording stuff, really. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it worked for us that way, you know?
Pretty much like once the first album was done, we got right into the second one. I mean, we had lockdown, so we couldn't get together for a while, but
2 lockdowns.
we were working on the second album and obviously playing a few shows in between, but that probably led to like the proliferation of the recording that we've done over the past few years. So in a
Yeah.
way, it was a bit of a positive.
Yeah, that's it. It had definitely had its negatives, but it's also had its positives. Like seeing bands like yourself that are first kind of getting the wheels rolling on the band as well. Definitely give you more time to kind of perfect your sound, work on getting some releases out, and kind of fucking roll that social media side and start getting people
Sure.
interested
Exactly.
and getting that music out as well. So that first album, RX, it dropped in 2020, and it does deal with like some issues as well. Tell us a little bit about what was it like first making that album, and then the whole process of the songwritings and everything like that as well.
It was a real, like, just kind of feeling our way in the dark. I mean, we've all been doing music for a while, but it was definitely like a bit of new territory, like getting to know each other and kind of getting a feel for how are we gonna write songs. And I think a lot of from like the hip hop side and stuff like that, Carl suggested that we should have skit tracks and kind of make this into a story. I was also influenced by one of my favorite bands, Life of Agony, their album River Runs Red. This kind of has a concept, tells a story, and obviously bands like Pink Floyd, The Wall, and yeah, it was a bit sketchy in the initial stages, trying to get comfortable with writing songs and getting a feel for it. But I mean that album is definitely a fan favorite. It definitely started the band off on like
It really did, yeah.
we were surprised at the reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been good to kind of get in there and get that first one out. As you said, like you've had all that time on your hands. I suppose if it was the other way around and the world was still open, it probably would have been a bit trickier to get these ones out in succession, in which you dropped them leading on to the Tsukimono one back in, I think around March 2021 as well.
Yeah, it was, we pretty much, after we did the first one, and that's when the things really got rolling, and we were excited about writing. We had so many different ideas that we kind of just threw everything at the wall with that album. I think it's like 14 tracks, and there's a lot of like, different stuff on there that I guess we were getting more experimental kind of with that album.
Yeah.
You're branching out a little bit more with the sound and style as well, eh?
Yeah, definitely trying to get probably like more of our influences in there, because I think the first album is probably more strictly on the grunge metal side, I guess.
Yeah.
And then on the next album, we tried to get a little bit like the new wave and more of the hip hop and stuff in there and whatnot. Yeah.
What was it like recording, like compared to the first one? You know what I mean? You've done that first one, you knocked that one out, you knew what you were in for. Because I've spoken to a lot of bands, man. I'm like, what was that first one like? They're like, it was good to get it out, but it was fucking shit making it, or
Yeah, I think the first one was like really more bare bones. Like we
Yeah.
kind of just got in there, recorded things that were flowing out of us to record, and then and Mike does all the production. So like by the time we got to the next album, we had learned from a bunch of mistakes that we made on the first one, and he grew a lot as a producer for that matter. And then obviously in the writing process and all that stuff, we grew a little bit more as musicians, I think, too. So
And we got to work with Jack Endino from Seattle
Yeah.
on that second one too. He did the mastering, so we really gave it a lot more polished sound as opposed to the first one. I was still kind of learning the ropes when it comes to mixing and mastering. But yeah, working with Endino was really cool. He really added that kind of like Seattle sound to the second album.
Yeah, was this something that you'd wanted to get going for a while? Talking about what we were just talking about then, about these albums coming out in such a short time, it's obviously something you'd had on your mind for a while, that this was what you wanted to do, yeah? Or you just gelled really bloody well together and gone, fuck, okay, let's get these 3 albums out in 3 years.
I think so, yeah. I mean,
bit of both.
It's just like when we get together, a lot of our songs come from jams, like maybe bands like from the 60s and 70s. Like maybe Aaron will start with a bass riff. I might have a drum beat or a guitar riff sometimes. We all write and contribute. So there's like an abundance of material that you can draw from. And like say with the second album, we were really throwing everything kind of at the wall to see what we could get stick. And I think with this new album, we kind of took more time like say into quality control, instead of just putting out the next 12 songs, we had about 20 or more ideas.
It's almost 22, I think.
Yeah, we had a lot of demos, and we said, okay, let's pick the strongest stuff we have here. Let's go for more quality instead of quantity.
Yeah, and trying to make them flow together better.
Yeah.
I think, too.
Yeah, and that is the latest album, Take a Seat. We're talking about people. It did come out November 25th. You can check that one out. It is a really cool album. Guys, tell us when you started a little bit more in depth about making this album, dude, because I want to talk a little bit more about this, because not only is it a recent one, but it is your third album in the trilogy you've had set. When you were making this, dude, did you go, okay, then look, I've got fucking 3 albums worth of material. Let's make a trilogy. Or did you just drop that first one and go, okay, then we're dealing with the themes of this, and then we're coming out with the next one, and then you're like, bugger it, dude, let's just drop this trilogy now, and we're going to deal with kind of these themes. Tell us about your thought process.
I wish we had thought about it that much. I think the first one. No, I think the first one where we decided to go with the skits and make it more of like a concept album to a certain degree.
Yep.
I think people really like that here, and a lot of bands here where we're from weren't doing that, and it dealt with depression and anxiety and all these, mental issues. So then when we got to the second one, I was like, well, why don't we lyrically at least, and try to do musically, do something, and of a similar thing, but like about spiritual stuff. So like there's a lot of stuff with like ghosts and stuff like that in there, and supernatural stuff. And then the third album, we were like, well, there's a lot of political things going on in the world right now, so why don't this one go political? So they're kind of a trilogy in 3 different things, It's like it worked out that way.
Different aspects of the human condition, you could say. And it wasn't something we really set out to do, but I think it happened more organically. Like Kyle was saying, you look at the themes of the first album and second album, this one had more of, political vibe. So you look at the 3 together, you kind of see, to us, it made sense to call it a trilogy.
Oh, well, definitely really relevant as well, because a lot of us in the world were dealing with a lot of these same sort of bullshit and issues as well. You know what I mean? You're dealing
especially with
our
the pandemic.
Exactly.
I mean, so many bands have been doing like pandemic albums and stuff like that. We didn't really want to write so much about that, but I guess when you see like, war and political unrest, it's definitely like you can't help but have those kind of issues on your mind,
As you just said, it's not dealing like specifically with pandemic, just human nature. Like you take all that out, that's something we're dealing with together anyway. Without any of that, we've all dealing. Especially nowadays, we're able to talk a little bit more about the anxiety issues we're having, and everyone's taken a little bit more look at fucking spirituality, and and definitely politics forefront on everything for how many hundreds of bloody years, unfortunately. So
for sure.
Yeah, and mate, tell me a little bit about more when you started making this album. You started making this one pretty well straight after you dropped that last one, yeah?
Yeah, I think it was around like May or
probably, yeah. I'd say May.
Yeah, it's definitely around May.
Yeah, so it was
First couple of Jan.
Yeah.
What was the songwriting process like, guys? Tell us.
I think we probably had like 5 solid songs almost like right away.
Okay.
And there was also a few jams where Aaron wasn't there and it was just me and Mike writing a few riffs, and he came in after and made them good. No. No, but like after those 5 songs, we knew we were going a certain direction in what we wanted, and the sound was changing a little bit, and we were doing some softer songs, so we were like, well, we'll just keep going this direction, I think.
Yeah, I think that's been the point of like each album, is to kind of evolve the sound, take it a little bit further each time. So excuse me, I think this album, like, we wanted to go a little bit heavier, but we also wanted to try a few things more on the melodic side.
Yep.
And also the punk side. So it's just, constantly growing and trying to top yourself as a musician.
Yeah, well, definitely speaking of the punk side, man, like I was going to mention it with the other 2 albums we're talking about, but I can definitely feel on this the Alice in Chains as well influence as well. The sound of the vocals is unreal, man, especially like when you get to that second one, A City Drown, I'm like, dude, it has those really cool Alice in Chains vibes to it, through the albums you have, but in this one I'm talking about especially, and with A City Drown, and then you jump down to Nothing Much, man, and it kind of starts out with that, for me, that real Nirvana Punch, man.
Yeah.
I was a grunge kid of the 90s, man. I just loved my
Nice.
punk, grunge punk. And and for me, I could definitely feel these Alice in Chains vibes. And as I just said, the Nirvana vibes to Nothing Much. It just had that kind of punch as well to it at the start of it.
Yeah, I mean those two bands alone are probably like our main influences, Nirvana and Alice in Chains. I mean, that era is something that definitely made me want to become a player in music. Bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, and it seems like these days there's a bit of a revival in like grunge. I've seen bands that I don't know. A lot of it is kind of like they're trying to emulate the sound more, like maybe like I don't want to say stereotypical grunge, but I think a lot of these bands are trying to maybe like emulate more of bands of the past, where as we don't just try to rip off that kind of thing, we try to bring in more of our own influences.
Create your
We're
own
trying to take that sound and then grow it to
bit
something
more
yeah.
diversity now, because we don't want some bands, like I say, you can listen to it and say, okay, you're trying too much to sound like Nirvana or something like that. I've heard a few cases of that, and that's something that we definitely want to try to be original, but still pay homage to our influences.
Yeah, well, most definitely. You can hear the influences in any band for the last 60, 70 years as well, but you definitely got your own sound and style as well, guys. If you could go through and pick a track each that stands out to you as like your most favorite at the moment. I know it's like a child and it changes each week, or, go through and pick a track for us, man. Let us know why you picked that track.
For me, I guess on this album, probably Why. I really like that one.
Everybody likes Why. I'm really happy.
It burns me. Something yeah.
Pretty heavy track, yeah. It has like almost a bit of a prog feel, that little riff in the middle, and yeah, that was a really cool one. That was one of the last songs we did. And I guess I'll go next. I'm gonna say maybe like Lapse in Judgment. That was a cool one that had like more like of a goth kind of shoegaze vibe. It was definitely more like a chill kind of vibe, and it was really cool just to try to change it up a bit. I mean, obviously we're a heavy band. We play, real like dirty kind of stuff, but that was something that we got to again show a bit more of that growth and do something a bit different.
For me, it's between two songs, honestly, because like I really like Sinking Deep, because I really like doing the dark, moody songs, and that's one of those. That's like my favorite thing to do. But Dark Rye Red Sky is really like I love that song too. I like going into my metal side because I'd say I'm the more punk side to a certain degree. So like when I go into my metal side, I just really like getting into that because like honestly, I didn't mention it yet, but one of my favorite bands like ever is Pantera. Like I love Pantera so much. Yeah, rest Dimebag today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, man, so I was trying to go for that kind of really heavy tone, just like more groovy, So I think that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, nice. And it's been a pretty big year as well with everything the last couple of years. How's the live front going for you, and how's your local scene guys?
It's been really good since the pandemic, and COVID has kind of slacked a bit. There's been some really great shows. There's a lot of like influx of younger bands kind of in town recently, and it's really cool. A lot of like hardcore punk and a lot of metal, and it's cool to see. Like we've been playing music for probably like 10 years plus in St. John's, so now you see a new generation of kids that are like 19, 20, just getting of that age where they can play bars, and they have just been kicking ass and really lighting the fire under the whole scene here. So it's really great to see. It's really inspiring.
Well, I mean, they're coming out too and saying like, not necessarily us, but they've heard about the scene before them and stuff like that, and saying they really got into it and they wanted to start doing that kind of thing. And then like you got people older than us, and you got us in the middle, and you got the younger crowd, and it's like really cool to see everybody playing shows together and like really becoming a community, because I think for a long while there wasn't much of a real close-knit community musically in this particular scene, but it's starting to come together now, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's been bands in St. John's active since like the 80s and even like the 70s, you know, like the initial wave of punk, people started, you know, just forming bands and playing downtown. It's a big musical city here in St. John's. I mean, mostly like the Irish, Celtic kind of traditional music is really popular.
A lot of
But
blues too, though. Blues is
yeah,
popular too.
but you also have the underground side that's always been there. It might not get that mainstream exposure. Like you're not going to see a punk show, I think, in a tourist ad for Newfoundland. But
You'd
it's
never.
there. It's there, and it's thriving. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's a good message too. It's there in every bloody city, every country. Get
definitely,
along and
yeah.
support your local scene, like you're saying, guys. How's the live front been going for you as a band too?
It's been good. We got a show coming up now Saturday.
Nice.
We always got something.
It's
Give it
cool.
a
Yeah,
plug.
I mean,
Give it a
usually, you
plug.
know, which
We try to get out there. I mean, I just like I love doing live shows more than anything. I like notoriously hate recording because I just don't like being in the studio. I just like being in front of people. So
it can be tedious. Yeah.
yeah, I just like being in front of people, running around, falling down, you know, doing whatever. It's like my
You
favorite.
get the reaction from the crowd, you know.
You
And,
get that energy.
yeah, yeah.
Cold beers.
Yeah.
Cold beers, good people, and merch. Lots of
Yeah.
fucking good merch.
There you go.
2022 is winding up. I've been asking bands, I've been chatting to. What are some of the highlights for you guys?
For me, probably, you know, getting this new album out and seeing the reaction from people's been really great. And as I said, you know, playing shows, seeing the local scene has just been on fire lately. So any weekend you can go to one of these bars and you're gonna see some bands that are gonna kick your ass. You know, you're gonna get caught in a mosh pit that is just, yeah, it's cool to see how the younger generation is still keeping punk and metal alive, you know, in 2022.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'd say it's pretty much for me. It's like, you know, definitely, like you said, getting the album done because this album was different from the other ones. And I feel like it was a little bit more like tedious, obviously, because we were taking our time and trying to get things just right the way we wanted it. So getting it out is kind of like a relief. And, you know, after this, we want to focus on more shorter projects just for a little while, you know, because they're easier to put together and throw out. And we can do maybe some new stuff, maybe some acoustic stuff at some point, you know. Aaron? Good for you.
Oh,
Here's the quiet one.
That's the quiet one in the band, man.
yeah, I'm always listening. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, like I say, doing some more jams, maybe get a little more experimental, try some, get some new material out. I always love jamming. That's my favorite part. Just getting everything off my chest, you know. Shitty week at work. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. Cool, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there before we sign out, my friends?
No, just to say thanks a lot for the interview. And you know, people can find us through social media, Jaded Truth. You can get the album on Bandcamp. And yeah, if anyone finds yourself in the St. John's, Newfoundland area, you might catch us downtown playing a show.
Yeah, hopefully on tour at some point.
Yeah.
Also, there's we have a merch site too. You can find it on our Facebook and stuff like that.
Instagram, yeah.
And we got like brand new t-shirts and stuff out. And like I said, like support the album and stuff too, but buying merch really supports us a lot.
Yeah, we get a lot of streams from Australia, so shout out to the Australian fans. Thanks for spreading our music.
Shout out to my friend from Australia, Riss.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get down there one day, man.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be unreal, man. Everybody, Jaded Truth, go grab a heap of merch. You heard him. Go grab the latest album, Take a Seat. Did come out November 25th. You would grab the other two albums as well through Bandcamp, put it in the stereos, crank it really loud. The neighbors going to want to hear it as well. Cheers, guys.
The only way to do it.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.